Good morning and welcome to the second session of the Active Sussex Network 2021. My name is Anthony Statham, Head of Operations at Active Sussex. And before we make a big virtual warm welcome to our keynote speaker, Danny Bennett, in a moment, I was just going to go run through a couple of bits of housekeeping to make the session as efficient as possible. So we are doing this virtually, so we're doing it from our own homes, and we've got a large number of people joining the call, which is absolutely fantastic. To help with that, unless told otherwise, please can you keep your videos off and your mics muted, just to help with that running of the session. You should also have received a delegate pack, virtual delegate pack, and in there's a virtual meet and greet sheet. So quite a few people have put in there a bit of information about themselves, social media accounts, emails, etc. So as we're not there in person, please do make use of that and connect up in the best ways possible. We are recording the session, just for your information, and that will be available in due course. And like some of you are already doing, please make use of the chat box. Like I say, we're not there in person, so that's our way of connecting. So use that chat box, put in your questions, put in any comments, thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever it might be, smiley faces, just get involved in there. Most of you have got it on there anyway, but if not, it'd be really great if, I'm not going to go into the settings bit of it, but if you're able to have your actual name in your Zoom name, because it will help with us taking a register, and also when we get to the Q&A later to identify who you actually are. Also, if you want to see a giant Danny Bent throughout, you've got different options in the viewing bit. So you can select just to look at the speaker. Again, depending on what device, whether it's desktop, phone, tablet, whatever it might be, you've got your various different bits in there that you can select. So without waiting any longer, it gives great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. We're really pleased to have Danny with us. First keynote speaker, Danny Bennett, who's going to be doing his session on the happiness of being you. So over to you, Danny.
Great, thanks, Anthony. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. It's so nice seeing all these names pop up on the chat and on the videos. I think I always like to kind of give people a feeling about who I am, where I've come from when I'm doing these talks, and I absolutely cannot do that without introducing my family. We are a bunch of nutters. If you get us at a party, it absolutely tears up. I think the ringleader is my mum. An idea of the kind of silliness that she gets up to is, you know, at Christmas time, every year she brings out this big black sack full of onesies. There's sharks in there, there's owls in there, there's dragons, all this sort of stuff. And she'll make us, we all choose one, the whole family, the extended family, we all put them on, and then we go for a run around her local village. And normal circumstances, we'll be high-fiving and hugging all the kind of local residents. And she loves creating a storm, creating a scene, but as well as that running, that activity is something that is so strong within my family. Mum and dad competed for, I've got, you know, English medals and all that sort of stuff, and their love of running particularly is just kind of fed right down and to me and my two sisters. And actually the five of us all ran the London Marathon together, and at the time, me and my little sister were both competing for Great Britain. And I love to ask in these scenarios, I won't ask you to answer the question, but I love to ask who you thought would be the winner out of my mum, my dad, and my two sisters. And the answer, I'll just go straight into it, is my mum. I had an absolute nightmare. I was indented with cramp getting massages on the side of the marathon. But I mean, she was in her late 50s and she's still running sub 3:30 pace and things like this. So, you know, that activity is just like so deep within my soul. And as a kid, I'm dyslexic. I'm hyperactive. I'm a little bit of an angel as well, but yeah, this being dyslexic, and just I was getting my books at school were just covered in red pen from the teachers criticizing what I was doing. I was getting in trouble because I couldn't really sit still very easily, and I'd go home and it's upsetting, and I would go home to my dad, and I said to my dad, this is what all the other kids are doing. This is what I'm doing. This is what the teachers are saying. And the words my dad responded with are the words that shaped my whole life. And he said to me, Dan, don't worry about what anyone else is doing. Just be the best version of you. And I kind of wish that every child in the world had a father that could give them that advice, because that advice has kind of given me the freedom to express myself in life, freedom to really be that true version of what I want to be. And, that kind of started really early on. At 11 years old, the head teacher got my class as we were leaving junior school, going into senior school, got us all lined up in a row and said to us all, the children are in front of us, the parents are at the back, and the teachers are all down the side of the hall, and the head teacher's up there with us, and said, what do you all want to do when you grow up? And people were saying footballer, politician, vet, all those sorts of normal answers. And it came to me, this really, really skinny kid. If it wasn't for my ears, you wouldn't be able to kind of see me. And I said that I wanted to cycle around the world and raise money for charity. And I'll kind of come on to that in a little bit, but I didn't always follow my dad's brilliant advice. And after university, I went into corporate finance, and corporate finance is probably the least being me thing I possibly could have done. It was, it made me quite unhappy, and I would cry on the way to work. I would go leave my desk and I have a cry in the toilet, just thinking, is this what the next 50, I'm 20 years old, is what the next 50 years of my life is going to be? And but the way I, the activity, the running, the fitness, they were the things that got me through that, really. And I was, like I was saying, I was competing for Great Britain, and we'd go on these training camps, like into the Alps, and cycling camp. I was on a cycling camp, and I was chasing my arch rival Stephen Bell on one of these training camps. And if any of you have been on, been into any sort of cycling, when you get behind someone, you get a little bit of an advantage. And I'm right behind him, going absolutely flat out, and we're going up this col in Nice, Col d'Ez it's called, and I just clipped his wheel, and with that it pushed his bike to the left hand side. And these bikes, they're super lightweight, really, really rigid carbon frames, they're really responsive, and he just yanked his bike back up to stop himself falling off into the middle of the road. And unfortunately for me, it made my bike take off. It flips it over on the right hand side, and unfortunately on the right hand side of the road was a sheer cliff. And there's this moment burnt into my memory of, I'm upside down, I'm clipped into my bike, I can see the edge of the road, the edge of the cliff, disappearing from my sight. And there was one little weed sticking out of this cliff face, and I can see it in slow motion as I kind of grabbed that weed between my finger and thumb, and and obviously it just comes out of the ground, but it's this slow motion of seeing the white roots and then these flecks of dirt coming off them. And then the next thing I know, I am lying on my back at the bottom of this cliff, and I can't feel my body at all. I can hear the screams from the other cyclists, like way up above me. You can just hear the fear, the upset in their voices, and then suddenly I get this little tingling in my left big toe, and it just sits there for a second, and then that kind of rushes up my left leg and down into my right leg, and I can kind of feel my legs again, and then it comes into my stomach, my torso, it whizzes down my arms, I can feel my fingers. And then it comes into my throat, into my voice box. And I kind of look up at those guys who are peering over this cliff face. And I'm like, I think I'm alive. And the irony of this situation is, as I was falling to what should have been my certain death, suddenly something happened in me, and I was more alive than I'd been for those years working in corporate finance. And I managed to walk away from that accident, and I fell amongst jagged rocks into the only bush that was there. It pierced both my buttocks, but other than that, the bike fell on my leg and kind of the chain chopped through it like a chainsaw. But really, this should have been the last moment of my life. And I just decided right there and then, I drew a line in the kind of dirt of life. And every single day past this line, I was going to live more fully. I was going to live using my dad's words. I was going to be more myself. And I was going to, every day was a bonus, basically. And living life in that manner, following my dad's words, living full and true to who I am, resulted in me, like Anthony said, of being voted one of the 100 happiest people in the UK. And I really just kind of wanted to take you guys on a little bit of a journey of what happened after I managed to pull myself off that bush, and I'll tell you a few of the lessons that have come with it, really. And the first thing I did, as soon as I got back from France, was quit my job, and I lived that childhood dream, that 11-year-old dream inside me. And I cycled from London to India and raised loads of money for charity along the way. And these kind of expeditions, like adventures, long journeys that you take, they're just full of little moments that will just change your life forever. And some of them are just so, every day something wild happens, and every 2 or 3 days something life-changing happens. And I just want to tell you about a few of those. And really, the lesson that I took from this journey was that you can always find a little bit of a positivity, a little chink of positivity, and no matter what is happening in your life. And I'll just give you a couple of examples. But before I give you those examples, I actually wrote a book about cycling from London to India. And that book, this dyslexic kid in me wrote a book. I had always loved writing before school, and that kind of school just destroyed it. And then that book went on to be a bestseller. Then it started winning awards. And before we go into anything else, any of these other lessons, let's just get this out there for everyone to hear. Do not let anyone, no one, your teachers, your family, your friends, those voices in our heads, tell you what you are capable of. Because this book went on to be a wild success, winning awards. And, that's just inside of me. I still cringe talking about it now with you guys, because of the experiences I had as a child, because of those voices that were speaking to me and telling me what I was good at and what I wasn't. And I love that. And I just think human capability is way beyond anything anyone thinks of us and what we think of ourselves. And I'll kind of come on to that a little bit later on anyway. But let's hit you with a couple of stories from the trip to India, finding that little chink of positivity. So the first one I want to talk to you about is when I was in the Ukraine. I'd just been cycling for some of those days I was riding for about 200 kilometers a day, because there was just nothing out there. And I was like, well, I may as well carry on. Otherwise, I'm just going to be sitting on my butt at the side of the road. And I am pretty tired. I get off my bike. I'm going to try and find some food. I'm walking down the street, just kind of looking left and right, seeing what I can find. And suddenly this guy jumps out on me. He jumps out behind this kind of piece of road furniture. And it's a guy dressed in full army attire. He's got an AK-47, which he just rams right into the center of my head here. And he starts shouting at me in in Russian. And like, even now, me telling you, I can feel it. I can feel that cold barrel of the gun against my head. This is the first time I've ever seen a gun, let alone felt one. And he's shouting at me in Russian. I'm shouting, you know, I'm trying to respond in English. There was no communication going on. And really, what's going on inside my head, 90% of me is thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die right now. There's this 9% of my brain that I'm a total mummy's boy. I'm thinking, how are they going to get my body home to my mum? And there was just this 1%, one tiny little percent that just thought, this is going to make an awesome blog post. And with that tiny little thought, it just put a tiny little smile on my face. And with that smile, the guy who had been shouting at me in Russian just put down his gun, opened up his jacket, pulled out a bottle of vodka and 2 shot glasses, forced me to sit down on the pavement, and then forced me to drink vodka with him until I passed out. And I just love this story. Firstly, that I could have had an army round the corner. I could have had a gun in my pocket. I actually had been given some mace shortly before this, just in case, because I've been warned of bandits and things like this. And but I tested it in my tent a few nights earlier, and I sprayed it, but I sprayed it into the wind, so it blew back in my own eyes and burned all my own eyes and my own nostrils and everything. So I got rid of that pretty fast. So I didn't have that, but I could have had any of these things, and nothing was more powerful at disarming that guy than the smile I had on my face. I love that idea, and I just think you can bring that into your own lives, whether that's with you've got a meeting that you're worried about, or you're just on the train on the way to work, or you're on a Zoom call where you don't want to be there. Your smile has the power to completely and utterly change a situation, and equally so, this finding a positive thing to hold on to can change a situation as well. And that is absolutely true in every sort of circumstance that's happening in your life. You can change it with your mindset, how you start looking at it. And I want to tell you about one more. I love these 2 stories, so I don't like to miss either of them out. And the second kind of most impactful, most memorable time of finding that positivity, I mean, it was happening every day, but these are 2 very powerful ones. The second time was when I was in India. I'd already arrived in India. I was cycling to the south of India to teach at a school there, and but I just entered India, and I met some other travelers in a town, and we got a place together. There were 4 beds in this room that we were all sharing, all lined up one after the other. And unfortunately for the guys I was sharing with, and actually for me, the 3 of them were really, really sick. They'd got the Delhi belly. And I don't know if you've been to India, the toilets are very, very simple. It's just a drop toilet. The 3 of them were fighting for it. They were explosive, front and back. And it was probably one of the most disgusting moments of my life, seeing 3 people fighting for this toilet, all very much needing it. And so they're all, it's again night. Night's coming in. They finish their business. They manage to lie down, and they slowly, one by one, they fall asleep. And then, as soon as the third one's asleep, I'm like, oh, thank goodness, I can go to sleep now. And I lay down on the 4th bed, shut my eyes. Well, I've been cycling, I'm really tired, and then suddenly I just feel these things hitting my bare flesh, and I'd already traveled enough by this point to kind of realize bed bugs when I knew it, when I felt them, and or at least I thought so. And I I kind of just thought, oh goodness, I didn't want to switch the light on or anything like this to check it out. I just thought, I've got to get sleep. So I reached into my little bag that goes on the side of the bike, pannier, pulled out my roll mat, and I thought rolling that out on the mattress might just stop them getting access to me, basically. And I rolled it out, lay back on it, head back, shut my eyes, and again, I'm feeling them, and I would slowly drift off, and then one would land right in your tear duct there, and that is a great way to wake yourself up. But I did fall asleep in the end, and the next morning I wake up just like every guy, needed a wee, walking over to the toilet. On the right hand side, and as I walked in, there's this shard of kind of stained mirror on the wall. And I just glanced at it as I went past just to make sure I'm still looking gorgeous. And I was like, hold on a second. And I took a step. I looked like I'd aged by about 20 years or 30 years. I'd got this big beard, shaggy hair, and my hair had gone white and my beard had gone white. I kind of stepped back, looked into the mirror again, peered in closer, and my beard and my hair was absolutely teeming with maggots. The wooden beam above the bed that I'd been sleeping on was rotten, and the maggots had been dripping onto my face the whole night. And I occasionally am known to have a little bit of a snore, which is very much a mouth open situation. So you can, there's like a bazillion cringes going on with me at this at this point. I'm getting some ooh and some rather unwell comments on there. Yeah. So, but as I'm staring there in the mirror, again, I have to try and find that little bit of positivity. They're dripping out of my beard in the way they were dripping out of the wooden beam. And but I just kind of was like, suddenly at that moment, it didn't matter whether the guys were sick anymore or they were sleeping. I just wanted to get that photograph, that kind of the profile image of me with a beard full of maggots. And I'm trying to keep them in. I'm trying to hold them into my beard so that the picture looks even more powerful than it would have done. And guy comes in, takes a picture. But like, yeah, if any of you have been traveling before, there's so many people you meet, you just kind of part ways and you never see them again. And I unfortunately didn't see this guy again, and I never got the photo of him. But I do hope somewhere on the internet there's this picture of this kind of rough, really skinny looking guy with maggots in his beard getting his billionth like right now. And yeah, just a little just gives you a little bit of an insight into my brain. But I think we can all take these little all these little positives into our lives. Yes, and actually at this point, if I was on a stage sharing this with you, I would share because I haven't got a picture of me with maggots in my beard. Earlier last year, I went to Peru and for this kind of challenge the apparent tough guys to do things. And the guy took a video of us eating these maggots that were about this big, or at least trying to. And I might send it. I'll send it to Anthony, and maybe he can forward it around so you can just see how pathetic I am in these situations. I did not like it at all, but yeah, I'm just waffling on now. So there's your first lesson of, there's a few in there, isn't there? Like, your smile can disarm a guy with an AK-47. But really, it's all about this positivity. It's about finding positivity in your whatever situation, whether that is, and COVID is one of these great situations where I didn't know anyone in my street, and because of COVID, I put a note round to everyone's door saying I work from home. If you need any shopping or anything, and from that, so much has come. There's bands are now playing in the street to entertain people. There are people doing shopping for each other, just normal stuff. But COVID's been a terrible time for everyone, most people, but there are these little positives that will will continue to flourish, hopefully when it's all over. And but anyway, I want to move on to our to the other side of the world. I want to take you from India to Boston in the United States. And if anyone is into running, probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest race in the world is the Boston Marathon. It's it's a race where a river of runners runs through colorful river of runners runs through the streets. It's a symbol of positivity. It's a symbol of life's achievements, and symbol of life itself, symbol of hope. And there outside the library in downtown Boston, there's a blue and yellow finish line. It's painted on the floor. It's huge. It's there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. People of Boston are so proud of it. And I wanted to just take you into the body very, very quickly of someone who's running the Boston Marathon. You've put all the hard hours in of training. You've got up early. You've gone to bed late to get those training runs in. You've fought your way through injury, and you pounded your legs so much that you can feel the echo of every single footstep in your hips as you kind of reach that 26 miles. You turn the left onto Boylston Street. Your buttocks have been chafing for 10 miles. Your veins, your arteries feel like they've got glass pumped through them. There's so much lactic acid. And then you do turn that corner and you see that finish line, and you just know that it's all been worthwhile. So you kind of look to the crowds, you give them a nod, and maybe you can join me on this. You put your hands in the air for that finish line photograph. Come on, everyone, put your hands in the air. And then you turn that kind of suffering face upside down. You put a smile on your face so that your mum is going to be proud of that finish line photo. But then a loud metallic noise silences everything. And on April the 15th, 2013, 2 bombs went off at the Boston Marathon finish line. 3 people were killed, including an 8-year-old boy. A policeman was later killed in gunfights with the perpetrators. And but so many people lost their limbs, had their legs were blown to pieces by these bombs. And at the time this was happening, I'd just been for a run. I was living in Devon at the time. I was sitting in my little kitchen, and I was with one of my friends. We'd just been for a run. We're drinking a cup of tea, just listening to the radio, and then suddenly the tunes that were on the radio just suddenly stopped, and we start hearing about the suffering, the carnage that is going on in Boston, and the death that was was getting reported. And like I was saying before, running has been such a powerful tool for me in my life, not just in terms of how I relate to my family, which has been amazing, but also running has been that place where I go to find answers to the big questions. It's been my therapy. It's been the place where I found love, friendship, and most of all, this amazing community. And here is this amazing community that has been attacked, and it just touched something inside of me. And my friend Kate, who was with me at that time, and I just turned to her and said, we have to do something about this. And I'm about as organized as a goldfish. I actually went to the national champs for triathlon, and I arrived at the event. I pulled into the car park and all this sort of stuff. I turned around in my seat and I realized I've forgotten my bike. And not only that, I brought one of my size 9 shoes and one of my mum's size 5 shoes. So the idea of being creative and finding something to do to help these people and organizing something that could help the people of Boston was quite far-fetched, but it was within my soul. And we came up with this idea to organize a continuous running relay from LA to Boston, all the way across the country, 3,300 miles. We planned out a route, we broke it up into 10-mile segments, stuck it on our website, put that on social media and hit share. And neither of us knew anyone in America. We'd never been to America. And we just kind of hoped that the American people would be into this and that they would embrace it. And we had ideas that we needed 330 people to sign up to carry our baton continuously across, and the baton was the shape of a peace lily. And the idea really was just to show that we felt your pain on the other side of the pond, and we hope we might raise just a tiny, $5,000 or £10,000 for charity along the way. But no one really signed up for the first few days. It was something that was just like tumbleweed, and it just. But then I got a message in my inbox from Ian Odom Russell. He said, Ian Russell reporting, ready to support and spread the word. And he was our first sign up. He was an art curator in New York, and he was the first person. He ended up knowing. He basically became a marketing executive. We were trying to do this on our own, me and Kate, just reaching out to people, asking like, do any of your employees do any running? We didn't really know what the hell we were doing. But as soon as Ian got involved, he became our marketing executive. He started contacting people in the States. He knew Sandra in LA. She played football with a girl from New Mexico, who then knew someone else, and it just kind of slowly spread completely and utterly organically. And I really love this kind of first conversation I had, because as soon as Ian signed up, I phoned him, because I was like, you're our first person, we need you. And I kind of think back to that conversation, and I think, what would he have thought? Would he have believed me if I'd said that within 7 weeks of the bombing, we would be setting off from LA, and that 4 weeks after that, we would arrive in Boston, having started a movement that would unite a nation, that would create a community that changed thousands of people's lives, and that baton, peace lily baton, would have been carried across the United States without stopping. And more than that, would you believe me if I'd said that we would raise well over $500,000 for the people affected by the bombings? Would he believe me? Of course he wouldn't. But that's exactly what happened. And just from this tiny idea, this tiny piece of passion inside someone on the other side of the world, managed to turn into something far, far greater than we imagined. And the beauty of this is what happened when we all came together. Together, we are like so much more powerful than the sum of our parts. It's kind of cheesy, but it's absolutely true. And I believe that in business, where, socially, all realms of life, if we come together, we can be so much more powerful. And I just want to tell you really one story about that run across the States. And that's, I will need to introduce two people. The first one is Nicole. Nicole had been running in the marathon. She had been stopped at 23.2 miles, so 3 miles short of the marathon. The police had barred her way and said, you're going to have to go into the park. The marathon's been cancelled. There's been an incident. She had no idea what was going on. She just was told to go and sit in the park, and she did just that. The other character I need to introduce, so that's Nicole Reese. The other person I introduced is John Odom. And John Odom he's from LA, and he'd flown over to Boston to celebrate his daughter, who was running her very first marathon. He was at the finish line. but unfortunately he was involved in the blasts, and he had both of his legs blown to pieces. He found himself lying on the floor in a pool of wetness, and took a little while for his brain to realize that the wetness he was lying in was his own lifeblood that was kind of spilling from his legs. And John died twice on the operating table. And if you haven't put two and two together, Nicole Reese is John Odom's daughter. And we got an email from Nicole saying that the finish line held these negative memories for her, and she wanted to replace them with positive ones. This was about a week before the marathon, the relay ended, and at the end of our relay was this blue and yellow Boston Marathon finish line. We were going to do the marathon as our last 26.2 of our 3,300 mile relay across the I get emotional just talking. This is obviously a number of years ago, 7 years ago now, and I still get the emotions from all of this. But so the last stage of our relay was with 6 miles to go, 6 miles left of that marathon course, and we all met up. There were 1,000 people just involved in that one stage alone, and we ran off towards the finish line. It was more like a carnival. It was a very positive expression of our sadness and our angst and everything like this. And that was dedicated by, that was dictated by the runners. We were very much kind of standing back from that. We didn't want to kind of impose on it. But then at 23.2 miles into that last marathon section, 3 miles to go, basically, underneath the street lamp, there is a lady standing in white. And as we get closer, we realize that's Nicole Reese. And at that point, with 3 miles to go, we pass her the baton so that she can continue the marathon she'd started those 11 weeks previously, to complete this challenge that she'd set herself. And so she sets off, thousands of people behind her going wild, cheering her name, all this sort of stuff. And then we turn that left onto Boylston Street. We see the finish line. And then she stops. She stops about 5 meters before the finish line, and everyone's banging into each other because they don't know. We weren't expecting her to stop. We were expecting to cross the finish line. And she's looking left, she's looking right, she's looking right, she's looking left. She's holding our baton up high, and no one knows what's going on. And then suddenly, there was so many reporters on the street, and they've all kind of parted, and out of there came John Odom in his wheelchair, and she passed the baton to John at the place where he had almost lost his life, and she pushed him across that finish line, symbolizing the end of the marathon she started, but also symbolizing changing some of those negative memories into positive memories, and allowing John to reclaim that place as his own. And as John was pushed across the finish line, he just looked up at me and said, "Dan, this is when I start to heal." And those words that he said to me are kind of, they're almost burnt into my heart, because and just like, I may have been voted one of the 100 happiest people in the UK, but I still have down days. And when I'm having those down days, all I need to do is just look at my heart and see those words, and just to feel that my life is worthwhile. You're striving for these wild and wacky things, and sometimes you do question it. You think, well, why aren't I just carrying on with my finance kind of career that I started with? And I just look at those words, and I know that that's it's been worthwhile. And I don't. There's so many things in here. Like, we all as all doing these things together, but also there's just like helping people feels awesome. It doesn't have to be life-changing words like John's. It can just be a thank you for opening the door to someone, or taking the student at work that's just kind of getting experience, putting them under your wing and giving them a hand, and them turning to you at the end and just saying, you made my experience. And those things just make us feel awesome. And what a it's lovely to feel awesome, but it's also lovely to feel that you've made other people feel awesome. So, and this didn't end there. We were invited by Sadiq Khan's team to do a relay in London to try and break down gang culture. We did exactly that. We had refugees involved, homeless people, CEOs, cleaners, gang members took part in the relay, and these relays are amazing at bringing people together. Activity is amazing at bringing people together. We all know that. And when at the end of, it was actually at the end of Boston, I just had this, I'd just seen the way we'd united this nation and just thought, what if we can do something that can unite humanity as a whole, the whole world? How getting active and coming together can change people's lives. It's not changing it just physically. We're changing things emotionally. We're changing things mentally. And the way we see each other. I mean, one of the things I love about running is the fact that you put your shorts on and your vest, and you're the same as every other person. It doesn't matter what your background is, where you've come from, what's to come next. At that moment, when we're alongside each other running, or whether it's playing football or whatever that is, you are the same. And whether that doesn't matter what color your skin is, what religion you are, where you're from. And all these thoughts were just like flooding my mind, and this dream of doing something that united the world came into my head. And the amazing thing is that I'm now able to tell you about one run. This was called One Run for Boston, and then last year we created One Run Global. One Run Global was an event that we thought would try and unite humanity, really, and get everyone a bit active and smiles on faces and all this sort of stuff. And we created an event where on a particular day, everyone ran. We had people from every single country in the world. We had people from North Korea, Iraq, South Sudan, Chad, obviously America, Chile, Argentina, Brazil, 195 different countries. The UN, 195 different countries, and a whole load of other micro states that come off those as well, taking part. But we had at least one person from each of those, but we had thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people took part. And this is actually where I started talking to Active Sussex and active partnerships in general. And we set this up for adults. We thought, let's unite adults all over the world. And then suddenly we're like, holy smoke, we can actually start these lessons, this beautiful thing that is active unity at a younger level. And we started getting schools involved, and then we started getting thousands of children involved. And then those thousands of children started raising thousands of pounds to raise money for charities that were fighting inequality and injustice and things like this. And wow, I mean, the idea when we were doing One Run for Boston, it just felt like, what a huge idea it would be to unite the world. But in my head, I was like, well, histories, they were already telling me that if we work together, we can create the incredible. And then last year we created the incredible. And I think, this is where you guys just come in just a little bit now, is that like we're all striving to get people active. We're all striving to kind of give the whole world, if you can, what we've been given, what we know is so powerful. So on October the 15th this year, our aim is to get 100,000, hundreds of thousands, but 100,000, let's be kind of like, get things into perspective. But people involved in One Run Global, and that we are hoping that might involve 60,000 children, or maybe a few more. And like even last year, it was like the first time we've done it. We had 10 million people watching it live on our website or on social media, and we were through press and things. We reached a whole load more of people from there, and Yeah, I mean, I could leave this whole thing here really, because it's just, that is just so powerful. I really, really, you know, it's free. It's free. It's like, you know, people pay for a medal and things like this. There are, you know, there's some exchanging in cash for adults, but children get it all free. They get lesson plans and the things that the children created in terms of messages they want the world to hear, and you know, and looking at it in a micro level within their classroom in terms of bullying, in terms of the, you know, inequality that might be happening in the classroom. And but that gives me goosebumps just talking about this. So yeah, I could go on about all sorts of other things. I could talk about unleashing your own potential, the capacity we have within us for so much more. But I think time's flying, and really the last thing I really want to leave you with is the most important thing that I've talked about this whole time. We've talked about finding the positive. We've talked about using your smile for good, how little ideas can create big change, how together we can create the incredible. Like what you guys are doing right now, you're bringing people together, you're forming tribes, together you can achieve greater things and unleash this potential from within you. But much more than that, like the real key to all of this is this one quote from my dad when I was a 7-year-old boy, and that is to be yourself. Be yourself as hard as you possibly can be, because that you is the very best you can be. Thanks very much.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Danny. I think we can all do a bit of a virtual hand clap, I think there, Danny. And it's certainly so many lessons, which I'm not going to go into now. I think everyone will have their own personal reflections that they can go away and look at. But what I'd like to do, I've had lots of comments and feedback come through to me. So we'll just do a little bit of a Q&A. We've got about 13 minutes or so we'll probably get through 2 or 3 questions during that time. We're not going to get to everybody's. So there's a number of themes that have come through, and one of them is, it seems to evolve, because obviously, you know, there's quite a lot of positivity going on, you know, in there, and enthusiasm, but about being in the 100 happiest people in the UK. So a few bits around. Firstly, are you always happy? And secondly, how on earth did you become one of the 100 happiest people in the UK? How did that actually happen?
So let's start first with where that came from. It's organised. The 100 Happy list is organised by the Independent newspaper, and it's a kind of rival. I don't know that paper, the I don't know if it's still around now, but you know, when the Times does its Times Rich list, I think the Independent were doing their 100 Happy list, and as you can imagine, no one features on both. And to be honest, I would prefer to be on the happy list than the rich list. And actually, I was just going. I was on a show on the BBC called Ultimate Hell Week, and I was going on to that, and I thought that was going to change my life hugely. And probably it didn't as much as being voted one of the 100 happiest people. Really, that changed my life more. And at that point, I was going onto the show. They were just taking our phones off us, all our clothes and everything, so that you make sure you're not taking anything on that what shouldn't be. We were about to be blitzed by the special forces from all sorts of countries around the world, and I got that email through on my phone. The last thing I looked at, and I almost didn't go on the TV show because I felt like that was so important to make sure that I made sure that went through that 100 happy list, because they're asking me for photos and things like this. And I did. I went on the show, and when I came out, it was fine. Well, I hadn't missed out on this opportunity with the 100 happy list, but because I think my positivity has always been there, really, even as a kid, and it's I think it's that's facilitated everything in my life. Like I'm not really very good at doing too many things, but I'm really good at being positive and thinking the best can happen. And I guess it's like that's, you know, I do it without even thinking that I'm kind of shooting for the moon and landing amongst the stars. Like, you don't always hit your target, but you do get to somewhere, really. But you know, just like you say, Anthony, I kind of mentioned it a little bit, I think, when I was talking. Like, I'm definitely not always happy, and I think, you know, I'm a very expressive person, and if I feel an emotion, and I really feel it. And so most of the time I'm like really positive. I've got amazing people around me. I've blessed with with love all my life, and you know, that's an incredible thing. But definitely I do have down days, and I guess I've got, like, the things I talked about today, they're like a little toolkit that you can use on yourself. But sometimes it's hard to think of those toolkits when you're down, like especially if you to listen to yourself, because your brain can't kind of process that. But as a general rule, I kind of use these little things, and one of the things I really love, which if I'm feeling down, I just call up or go and meet my the people who are really positive in my life. And I love this saying. Someone said it to me a few months back, that if you surround yourself with happy people, you're going to become you 7 happy people, you become the 8th happy person. If you surround yourself with 7 angry people, you will become the 8th angry person. And if you know, whatever that emotion is, we are like, that's part of who we are. We're meant to be part of groups. And if you bring yourself into a group that is not a positive one, then that, and I think that's really important for people. It's very hard to say, but you know, just look at those people who are around you and choose who you spend your time with. And if the people aren't giving you what they should be, and that's not about giving you anything, it's just like the mood that is shown, then you try and change those people. And there, you know, like we all know, there's a bazillion clubs out there that you can go to that will help you meet people and all these sorts of things. And but yeah, I definitely do feel down, and it's you know, I'm just a normal person, just same as everyone else is, really.
Brilliant. Cheers, Danny. I'm going to go to the floor for the moment. So I've had a question coming from Arup. So Arup, did you want to unmute yourself and pop your video on for a moment? Ask Danny your question.
Yes, thank you, Anne. I don't know if you can see me. I've stopped my video, but morning, Danny. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your inspirational words. A lot of it resonated with me, as I can see, has with everybody else. Morning, everyone else, by the way. My question, Danny, is I gave up a corporate career to pursue what I consider to be, you know, and I've experienced to be a much more rewarding career in community sport. I worked in the corporate world for 25 years. I've got several friends who are absolutely sport mad, who, you know, in the days when we could sit around the dinner table and chat to each other, tell me how trapped they feel in their corporate careers, and how much they wish they could transition to do what I'm doing or work in sport. What words would you use to encourage them to make that leap? Because it's something that I've struggled with to get the message through. You know, just like your dad's phrase about be the best version of yourself, those kind of things. What would you say?
I think so, I mean, it really obviously depends on each person, doesn't it? But a very interesting thing happened the other day. It's actually, when I say the other day, it's before COVID. So, but anyway, I was at an event, and this group of ladies, they were probably between 40 and 55 or something like this, and they wanted to run Hadrian's Wall. And so they sat me down and said, Dan, can we just talk to you, and can you help us make this a reality? And they sat me down and they said, so we've planned our route, we've got that all sorted, we've got all the accommodation that we're going to need all the way along. We've worked out exactly how much food we need. We've got we know exactly what equipment we need. And they were just, they were just reeling off all this stuff. It was, they'd got in their heads everything that they possibly could want and need for this trip. And they said, and they were like, but how do we make it a reality? I was just like, the only difference between making it a reality and now is you just saying, I'm going to do it. And I think that is the case with a lot of people, isn't it? And it's just like going for a run. The first step out the door is the hard one, and everything else from there on in is just easy in comparison. And I guess that kind of metaphor can kind of work in this situation too. And you know, it's a tough one, isn't it? And I'll say, you know, I fell off a I fell off a cliff to allow this life to happen. I cheated death basically, and what, you know, one of the reasons I love giving these talks is because I just hope that it can resonate with a few people, and you don't have to cheat death to start taking those steps. Let me cheat death for you, and then you go on to do the things you want to do. And you know, because this is all about being true to who you are. It's, you know, it's, these people are doing something they don't want to do potentially, and they want to join you in, you know, and everyone who's on this call here, in making huge difference in the world, and that's just so infinitely more powerful. And really the thing is, really hold on to that, like, this is me. And then I think, and obviously you've got to transition sometimes as well. Like, I was much younger, and it was much easier because I didn't own anything. I didn't have a mortgage, I didn't have a girlfriend, you know, I didn't have a wife, kids, all this sort of stuff. But you can take small steps to this, and you know, maybe like one of the things that you can do is invite them in for one day, ask them to come and, you know, come and follow you, see some of the kids, or, you know, the adults that you're working with, and allow that to slowly filter into them. And, you know, these, you know, business people have so much to offer because they've got these skill sets that are very, very powerful. And I suspect that every single person on this call could benefit from having, you know, a accounts manager from HSBC or whatever it is, come in and you know, oh wow, this is, you know, this is things we can learn infinitely. Like, they could have talked this 1 hour or whatever it is I've been talking for, and you learn equally powerful lessons. They're just different lessons, and that's why we all have to come together.
Great, thank you. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Danny. Thanks for your question, Root. So we've got a couple of minutes left, Danny. So I suppose just one thing, I suppose, we just got in the One Run Global, and like, how do people get involved? How do people start spreading the every human message? So yeah, just briefly, where do we go from here? How do we get involved? How do we get involved with the movement? So,
I mean, I think the real crux of this is just get in touch with me, basically. The easiest way to do that probably is to go on to dannybent.com, DANNYBENT.com, and contact me, because you can go on to onerun.global, see everything that was going on. There's a load of videos of the celebrities that we had involved, and the, you know, the performers and all this sort of stuff that just got behind our messaging. But I think, you know, speaking to you, Anthony, if I'm allowed to say that, you'll come on in a minute and just to tell me whether that's a good thing or not. But really, I like active partnerships. We just seen it as like, wow, how cool would it be if we are actually partners with each other, and we actually and we can actually get more people. You use this as a platform, just a one-off platform. It's one day, that's it. But use that as just a way to activate a few extra people. And if we do that together, and we get a load of children, a load of adults involved, then that's fantastic. And, you know, we've talked before, Anthony, about Sussex being the kind of the pilot for what we do potentially, because I mean, I've had, you know, such amazing chats with all of you guys in the past. Like, let's do this as a pilot, and let's show all the other active partnerships what is possible. And you know, let's take this take it global. But, you know, it's global anyway, but take it national in terms of active partnerships. But yeah, dannybent.com, and then you get onto all my socials and all those sorts of things if you want to follow any sort of silliness that I get up to. And, you know, silliness and seriousness. I like a little bit of everything. But yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, thanks, Danny. And we'll circulate the information with it. And like I say, we are working with Danny at the moment. So we've already had some initial kind of plans to look at how we can get Sussex schools involved in One Run Global and the every human movement. So just to finish off, Danny, we've reached our time. Just on behalf of Active Sussex and everyone on the call, Thanks so much for your time and joining us today. Been really lucky to have you, and it was exactly what I think we needed at the moment. Looking forward and some of those key lessons, you know, to really reflect on and just staying positive. And, you know, hopefully we've just got a small bit of that enthusiasm that we can all take away and try and get people physically active in Sussex. So thanks ever so much for your time. So yeah, a big virtual thank you for everyone. If you've got any comments, just put them in the chat box as a thank you. And yeah, you can even put on your screens and give them a clap if you like. We can put on the videos. I think we're good at this point. So yeah.
And Anthony, just like thank you to everyone for listening. It's like and really, you know, doing such amazing stuff in our society, in our communities, and all that sort of stuff. Like, I'll give you a little clap as well, just to say thank you for just changing lives. You know, that's what you guys do every single blooming day, and that's really, really fantastic. And you know, the more we can do together, the more, you know, just like I was saying, come together, we're more powerful. So let's go.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Danny. We'll leave it there. A feedback form will be sent out in the next few days, and obviously recording, plus any contact details, getting in contact with Danny and how we can get involved moving forward. So thank you very much, and we'll see some of you on the next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers, Danny.
It was lovely. And if anyone has any questions, just fire them out, you know, fire them over on socials or whatever you like, because
I've just found you on Instagram, so I'll be following you.
Oh, scary.
Thanks, Danny.
Make it sound scary.
Thanks, Danny.
Inundated, Danny.
Oh, thank you.